So let's cut right to the chase. George W. Bush tried 4 times to legalize at least 30 million illegal aliens in this country. They lied and said it was 14 million. But all the major think tanks say between 25 and 35 million. Now Obama has tried to pass the exact same legislation. Remember the last time Bush did it in 2008? The Republicans with the Democrats? They said, we're not going to let the legislation be public, but we promise you it's non-amnesty. Then Senator Sessions, a good senator, said, I don't care if I get sanctioned by the Senate. He played chicken with them. They didn't sanction him, but he broke their orders. They shouldn't be able to order an elected representative around. He has free speech. He released the bill. And it was worse than amnesty. It said aggravated felons could sign a pledge and be given citizenship. We have a key article up at Infowars.com titled Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation gave millions to La Raza. What does Raza mean? It means the race. What is their public slogan? For those inside the race, everything. For those outside the race, nothing. Billions of dollars, over $2 billion in the last decade. It's billions before that, given by the Ford Foundation. It has more than $40 billion total. To Mecha and La Raza and others to teach Hispanic children in Mexico, in Latin America, where this movie's now airing, with bloody posters of a machete that says, everybody for machete, to hate the United States, the Republicans and the Democrats, the big foundations. Why do they want this? They want to bring in a group of people who are hardworking and good, but fill them full of racial hatred and turn them into a political arm, and then Republicans stand back and go, oh my gosh, it's the Democrats that are running Mecha and La Raza. Oh, my gosh, it's the Democrats that want carbon taxes. Oh, really? Coming up, I'm going to play a News Corps internal video release that was shown to all News Corps employees. This is an internal News Corps promotional that they then later themselves put out publicly, where the CEO of Fox Entertainment brags and shows all the pro-man-made global warming stuff they're pushing. And who's funding Machete? Go pull it up on IMDb. News Corps, Fox. See, master corporations control both ends of the political spectrum. And that way, no matter where you run, they control you. You think they want Caucasians and Hispanics, who, by the way, are European, do you think they want us getting along? Do you think they want Hispanics coming here and becoming pro-George Washington, pro-Second Amendment, pro-free market? No. They force-feed them in the colleges and the public schools, La Reconquista. And then the state of Texas funds up to 18% of the funding of this movie, Machete, with your taxpayer money, when it shows Texas politicians as murdering, drug-dealing criminals, murdering pregnant Hispanic women. I mean, this is incredible. When the state of Texas denies funding to films like Waco, because they said it put Texas in a bad light. Last year, they denied and said, don't make your film in our state. You won't get tax incentives. So they went to Louisiana. And Rick Perry's office 3 months ago, we called him. No, actually, they contacted us. His press secretary contacted us and said, Mr. Jones, we're not funding that film. We'd already called their office, and they said, yes, we are funding it. Then we found the video clip of Rick Perry saying, Robert Rodriguez and his film Machete is the model of the Texas Film Commission. He is the model. See, Rick Perry's all hat and no cattle, and I'm not saying vote for white, folks. He's just as bad or worse. The point is, let me read to you from Glenn Beck's new book, Glenn Beck, The Overton Window. 15 years ago on air, I read this quote. I've read this quote every month on air for my 15 years on air. It's in a 900-page book called Tragedy and Hope. He was allowed into the CIA State Department archives in 1962 to 1967. He published the book a year later, Tragedy and Hope. And Glenn Beck quotes it right here in his faction book. He calls it Fiction That's Fact. This is Carol Quigley, Bill Clinton's mentor. The argument that the two parties should represent opposed ideas and policies is a foolish idea. Instead, the two parties should be almost identical so that the American people can throw the rascals out in any election without leading to any profound or extensive shifts in policy. Then it should be possible to replace it every 4 years if necessary by the other party, which will be none other of the things, but still pursue. Again, then it should be possible to replace it every 4 years if necessary by the other party, which will be none of these things, but will still pursue with new vigor approximately the same basic policies. Tragedy and Hope, 1968. This was commissioned. 1,000 copies were commissioned by the CIA about themselves to give to their highest level operatives to be able to understand the takedown of America. Because the CIA openly works for offshore banks, the ones that have stolen $28 trillion in bailout money. Again, Bloomberg AP, not $887 billion. And what is this book? This book literally shook me to my core, the Overton Window. Beck in this book admits the government stages terror attacks, wants to set off nukes for martial law, and the character that represents him is this evil operative who poses as a patriot. And then when he finally becomes a real patriot, they grab him, the CIA grabs him and gives him electroshock therapy, and then put him back out on television to control conservatives and patriots. I mean, they just throw it in your face in a faction book. Meanwhile, Beck says you're the scum of the earth if you question the Gulf of Tonkin, which they admit was staged to get us into Vietnam. You're the scum of the earth if you question 7/7, and you're dangerous, and you may be violent if you point out the government ran drills at the exact same time, at the exact same places of the bombings. We had an actuary done. It was, what was it, 1 chance out of 23 trectillion? That's tens of trillions of times more than all the sand in all the world. Impossible. Why do they run drills? Because if one government group gets caught planting the bombs, they tell the other government group that's good, the white side, oh, we were just part of the drill. They ran drills of bombing the World Trade Center in '93. New York Times admitted the FBI cooked the bomb, trained the drivers, let it go forward. That's in this book, but it's nukes bombing L.A. And then he gives newspaper articles about government-staged terror in the end. While on the air, he says you're a piece of un-American garbage if you talk about it. I mean, you talk about mind control, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even know what to think of this. You think I'm happy to get up on the air and talk about government-sponsored terror? 10 years ago, I was offered Glenn Beck's job before Glenn Beck existed. He's only been a Patriot radio host for 8 years. I was told, you'll be the next Rush Limbaugh. You'll be on national television. You're more powerful than Limbaugh. People say, well, why don't you say who told you that? When people say in confidence, you agree, you don't violate that confidence. I mean, you do notice they're doing Nightline perspectives on me. You do notice that they admitted my websites, Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, on Alexa and all the other trackers, dwarf Limbaugh and Beck. They know this. So they are the counterfeits. Beck was developed to counter Alex Jones. We'll be back.
Look at the blood we're spilling. Look at the world we're killing. The way we've always done before. Look in the dark we follow.
Welcome back. To quantify what I was getting into earlier, on two separate occasions, and on several other lesser occasions, smaller networks, I was approached, and I was told, yes, there's a global government forming, but it's for the good of the planet to redistribute wealth. And I pointed out, no, it's not. That's what low-level people are told. We want you to have the biggest national show in the country. Again, I was approached by the #1 and #2 consecutive largest syndicators at the time. And they said, look, you come out of the radio, you grab people, you have an intellect, you've studied history. We've done focus groups on you. You will be the next Rush Limbaugh. And I said, well, where do I sign on the dotted line? And they said, well, here's the problem. No more black helicopters, no more private Federal Reserve, no more world government. We want you to be a conservative, libertarian host a little more cutting edge than Rush Limbaugh, but there will be editorial control. You will cover what we say. And I said, no, thank you. And at the time, it was 10, 15 times what I was making money-wise. The next offer was probably 30 times. I don't remember all the exact ratios. The point is, it was a lot of money, a lot of power, the book deals, everything. And, of course, they probably had 15, 20 people they were looking at developing. You know, they tell all those beautiful young women out west or in Connecticut or wherever, come out to California and you'll be a movie star. And 5 years later, they're a crack-addicted, you know, porn star. So they had a lot of people they were out there farming and looking for to be Glenn Beck, somebody they could control. So you got News Corps, I'm going to play this clip coming up, admitting that they promote the global warming fraud. They've got O'Reilly doing it. They've got the big globalist Newt Gingrich promoting global warming taxes. They've got Pat Robertson out promoting it. Now that it's imploded, thanks to the information being leaked internally, how it was a fraud, and this show and others, and Ron Paul and the Climate Depot and many others, it's in a lot of trouble now. And Al Gore's been discredited. But just a year ago, you saw a neoconservative push along with Barack H. Obama to give you the global tax. And only a few of the Fox hosts were even allowed to talk about it, but most of them were pushing it like it was real. But what did Glenn Beck write just a week and a half ago? Glenn Beck, key Obama ally, works with Socialists for Global Tax. Well, why doesn't, and this is from GlennBeck.com, why doesn't Glenn talk about Rupert Murdoch? Why doesn't Glenn discuss that? No, see, what they're doing is, when the Democrats were out of power, when the Democrats weren't in office, Keith Olbermann and others played the part of anti-Patriot Act, anti-police state, anti-surveillance. Now they're in power, they're all for it. Now Republicans are out of power. Oh, they're against the tyranny. They're against the corruption. They're against all the problems. Oh, when law enforcement last year sent this radio show, we broke it, the MIAC report and Homeland Security reports, the media picked up on it and said Obama had issued that. Well, yes, Obama had reissued it. Turned out a year before, George W. Bush had issued those reports saying that Homeland Security was really for conservatives, gun owners, libertarians. And we've gotten similar reports during those years, but it never made national news because, oh no, the neocon TV and radio, they didn't want to talk about Bush and the people that controlled him setting up Homeland Security for the American people. Remember, it was the Republicans that were for the banker bailouts along with the Democrats. It was Bill Clinton, with the help of Republican votes in 1990s, who got rid of the Glass-Steagall Act in 1999. And it was the same Bush advisors that went into the Obama administration. So all that's happening is the Republicans are playing the part of the anti-establishment right now. And I do agree with Republicans' views and their state platforms, like the state of Texas, and I tend to side with them more. The grassroots are great people. But the leadership is in bed with the very same people. And that's the issue that you have to understand. I mean, how can Glenn Beck write a book he calls Faction, fiction that's fact, say this book is real at the beginning, and at the end have a 30-something page glossary? Give me a document cam shot for prisonplanet.tv viewers. He has a big, lengthy thing of news articles and quotes by Edward Bernays, Carol Quigley. He's got all the articles about drills on 7/7 with the London bombings at the exact same time, exact same place, eugenics, how they want to sterilize you, one-child policies. It's all there. It's all there, but it's a fiction book. And then I've got clips of him saying, there's no one I hate more than 9/11 victims' families. They're a bunch of scum because a bunch of them think we've been lied to about 9/11. Well, we know. The commission said the official story's a lie. Beck talks about how it's private global corporations that have infiltrated the CIA and FBI that staged the terror, and that most of the agents don't know. That's true, too. I'm not even really saying our government staged these attacks or allowed these attacks to take place.